Hello. So, my name is Danielle, and of course, I will be speaking on interpersonal intimacy. Um, I try not to talk so much. 30 minutes is a short period for me because I talk so much, but I'll get it done. Okay, interpersonal intimacy. So, I start with the definition of intimacy. Intimacy is a process of interaction in which partners, whether social or involved, as a result of sharing personal and private thoughts and feelings, come to feel understood, appreciated, and cared for by each other. Interpersonal intimacy is the degree to which relational partners mutually accept and confirm each other's sense of self. So, interpersonal intimacy is intimacy, the definition of intimacy, and it goes both ways. So just as one person wants to feel understood, appreciated, and cared for, it's definitely important that that person too, make sure that they understand the other person, shows the other person appreciation, and cares for the other person. It's a two-way situation with interpersonal intimacy. So for interpersonal intimacy, there are definitely levels to interpersonal intimacy. And just like the definition of intimacy states, it can be social or it can be involved. Intimacy is something that every relationship has, whether it's a relationship with your mother, a relationship with your friend, a relationship with your coworker. Of course, we would rather not choose the word intimacy, but that's what it is. So, of course, you start out as strangers, you know nothing about the person. There's really no, I guess, need to, try to understand the person. They're a stranger. But once you get to know the person just a little bit, they become acquaintances, or you guys become acquaintances. And then you're able to label each other as friends. And then from there, you may, gain a close friend, someone that you feel like you can trust, someone that you feel like understands you. And of course, vice versa. You feel that this person is able to trust you. You feel that this person, you're able to understand where this person is coming from. So they become a close friend. And then, of course, we get to the point where we're able to call some of our friends our best friend. We know for a fact that they understand us, that we're able to trust them, that they're able to trust us. They hold information that other people don't know. We just hold them at a higher standard than other people. And of course, if it's someone that you're involved with, of course, again, they may start out as strangers, then you go to acquaintances, you go to friends, close friend, maybe boyfriend, girlfriend, and then best friend, and then spouse. So it's levels, whether socially or involved. But basically the levels are basically the same. I'm guessing we wouldn't call somebody a friend if we don't feel like, we can't trust them even just a little bit. Or that, maybe we have some things in common. So, we've had conversations like, oh, okay, you understand where I'm coming from. I understand where you're coming from. So I wouldn't say with strangers, but with every other level, there's some type of interpersonal intimacy or there should be, because of course everything can be one-sided. So while you think that this person is your close friend, they don't necessarily feel that, because maybe you're not providing to them what they provide to you, which is definitely something I'm going to mention next. So in interpersonal intimacy, communication is definitely a crucial component. I believe that I feel that in interpersonal intimacy, communication is what keeps the level of intimacy high in a relationship. Communication definitely works two ways. So you're sharing and you're listening. So you have to be able to give just as much as you receive. A relationship cannot work it can work one way if a person allows it to work one way, but typically, we want to be understood. We want to feel like we can trust somebody. We want to be able to share things with a person and not feel judged or embarrassed. We want to feel like, we're receiving just as much as we're giving. So, of course, communication can be verbal. It can be nonverbal. Communication is eye contact, it is trust, and it is touch. Nonverbal communication can definitely be, facial expressions. If a person is talking to us and, they're telling us something that is very important to them, and our facial expression maybe says, why is this person talking to me? Or not really interested, that you're communicating something, and that person, they're going to react to it. I know if I'm talking to somebody and they don't seem really interested, I cut the conversation short, because at that point, I'm just not going to waste my breath. You don't seem interested in what I have to say, so why say it? But from that point, I develop, I feel a certain type of way. Like, okay, well, I can't really share whatever with this person because they're not interested in what I have to say. Just like one-sided relationships, there are times when, you may be sharing something, but the person's not really interested. All the person really wants to talk about is themselves. So while in the beginning, you may be like, if it's a new relationship, you're trying to get to know the person. You're trying to see if you can actually have a friendship with the person. So you're sharing, but eventually you realize, okay, this is it. This is one way, because every time I talk about myself or my issues, I get one-worded responses, or the person just doesn't seem interested. And, or it can be, they never ask me how I'm doing. You're genuinely interested in what's going on in their lives, or if they come to you with issues, your response is always genuine, but it's not mutual. So the level of intimacy there would have to be low for you anyways. For the other person, they may feel like you're somebody that they can trust. You're somebody that they can depend on. They share their information and you genuinely respond. You genuinely try to help them and be of support. So for them, the level of intimacy is high, but there's obviously things are off balance, which it eventually begins to show and basically begins to show in the relationship. Maybe the person who isn't receiving the same thing that they're giving out may stop answering the phone, may start doing the one-worded answers just like they're getting. And so then you have this other person who's like, well, what happened? Like, I thought we were fine, and things of that nature. I mean, there's definitely an opportunity for the situation to be resolved, of course, if both parties do agree that there is a lack of communication. But on the flip side, it may not work out too well because the person just may not really be able to see that they lack in their communication. And that is what has caused a rip in their relationship. So it's very important for everybody to know that communication works both ways. You have to be, I believe, we all share. Well, there are people who don't like to share, but we have to share as well as listen. I think listening is probably the hardest of the two for a lot of people. We have to listen, we have to share, and we have to share. But going back to communication can be many different ways. How you react plays a big part in the way things go. I think that's the listening part. Touch. In my paper, I use an example of like a couple, and let's just say that I use in my paper, I use a case study, and it's about Jake and Ann. So let's just say, talking about touch, Jake, he tells Ann that he loves her, but the way that he touches her, if he's aggressive or forceful in his touch, that he's communicating to her that maybe he's upset about something, he's angry with her. He doesn't really necessarily love her. That's not the, like, him loving her is not the message that she is getting. But he says otherwise, but the physical action and that is being communicated to her is something totally different than what he's saying. So it's very important that we're intentional in the way we speak and the way we communicate overall. If you don't mean, or going back to the touch, if you love somebody, you wouldn't be aggressive in your touch. You wouldn't, touch them in a way that says otherwise. Okay. So again, I used a case study of Jake and Ann in my paper. And basically, I'll just tell you guys briefly what it was about. Jake and Ann, they were married for 4 years, and Jake was in the military. And so in their 4 years of being married, they moved 4 times. They had 2 children. Didn't have a lot of time to spend with each other. And that played a part in their issues. Not a lot of time to spend with each other. They argued about they had heated arguments about twice a week, and the way they communicated, their communication skills had decreased. And they, mentioned that during the heated arguments, of course, there will be yelling, there will be swearing, criticism, fist biting, and sometimes objects will get thrown. Both Jake and Anne had, I guess, different reasons that they gave as being a blame for their relationship issues, but they definitely made it clear that the communication changed in their relationship. So for treatment, for treatment, I chose two different approaches. So the first approach I chose was the Gottman method. The Gottman method was an approach it's an approach to couples therapy that includes a thorough assessment of the couple's relationship and integrates research-based interventions, and it aims to decrease conflicting verbal communication with increasing intimacy, respect, and affection. So for Jake and Anne, it seemed like they obviously were not on the same page. It seemed like Jake's career, it really, and the 4 moves, it just, I mean, that's a lot happening, having to pack up and then unpack, just to pack up to unpack. I mean, that's a lot of stress. And, you know, it seems like the communication just stopped. It stopped somewhere in there. So that's why I chose the Gottman method, because I feel that once they worked on their communication, that the other problems could possibly be resolved. So for the Gottman method, there are 9 research-based interventions. So of the 9, there are build love maps, nurture your fondness and admiration, turn towards and not away, let your partner influence you, 2 kinds of marital conflict, overcoming gridlock, creating shared meaning and commitment. For Jake and Anne, I chose build love maps that basically just allowed them to map out their life individually, like in that time. You know, what are your stresses? You know, what makes you happy? Where are you in your life? What do you think about your life? What do you feel? Where do you feel like things could improve? Just, it was basically, love maps would be a way for them to just see where each other stands at that moment, and to get a better understanding of where they are. Because I mean, Jake, his career, as I said, it seems like that's a really big stressor for both of them. So Jake, it's his career, so he may not understand or think that, you know, and is stressed, his job causes stress for her. But by her writing out what she thinks, he's able to see and understand that not only is his job stressful for him, it's stressful for her as well. The other one I chose was turn towards and not away. So with this one, it's where, so the goal is to make sure that the couple remains connected. The component, turn towards another way, encourages the couple to build romance in small and regular interactions. For example, a hug when necessary. Small interactions have a lot of impact on the relationship. And of course, as the saying goes, it's the little things that matter. So for Jake and Anne, it seems like just by the case study that they're busy a lot. And is in college. She's a stay-at-home mother. They have 2 kids. Jake works full time, comes home. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, let's just say Anne seems a little frustrated, with whatever it is. A small gesture of, a touch on the back, on the arm, or a hug. It would mean a lot. I'm pretty sure it would show, though, we don't have the time right now. I'm with you. Like, I'm here with you. I'm not turning away from you. I recognize that you're frustrated in this moment, but you're not alone. So I think that would definitely help with Jake and Anne. They have a lot going on, but it doesn't mean that during that time where so many things are going on, that love can't still be present. So I think I chose that one because I believe that this intervention would reduce stress levels and definitely create an opportunity for more respect and love to be given. And the third one that I chose was 2 kinds of marital conflict. So there are 2 kinds. The marital conflict that can be solved, and basically the marital conflict that cannot be solved. It's very important for the couple to recognize which issues can be solved. I believe in the case study it stated that they would fight over small things. Like, the small things would end up being, of course, huge ordeals. So just recognizing which issues can be solved and which ones, we're just going to have to disagree on, or, somebody's got to compromise, or do we both compromise? Just recognizing which ones can be solved, which ones something's going to have to change or be worked out. And with the Gottman method, it definitely gives ways for the conflict to be solved. 5 tactics exactly, in ways that to address to the issues that can be solved, and of course, how to deal with the issues that just can't be solved. The second approach that I've chosen is the narrative therapy. So narrative therapy is something that I have learned in school, and I believe, so the narrative therapy, it's basically where each person is allowed to speak. Narrative therapy separates the person from the problem. The problem is the problem. The person is the person. Everybody has issues. Everybody makes mistakes. Just because you made a mistake or just because you created a problem, it does not mean that you are that problem. So it separates the two. And it creates opportunities for people to externalize their problems instead of internalizing them. So the narrative therapy, of course, as you can guest allows for each person to tell their truth, whether it's, I mean, doesn't matter if it's the other person's truth. It allows for that person in that moment to tell their truth. The therapist is there basically as a mediator. The couple, they're the ones, with the power. You tell your truth, you tell your truth. You guys work on how are we going to fix this? Here's what I've heard. This is what I noticed. What do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? What are you guys going to do? It just gives the couple an opportunity to really just speak it out, talk it out, not speak it out. It also allows for respect to be given and to be learned. Let's just say Jake and Am, they can't, their arguments, they can't talk to each other. This one isn't going to listen. This one isn't going to listen, but with the therapist there as a mediator, you have to give respect. You want respect, you have to give it. So, which is something that they can take and they can, learn it or take home, and implement at home when something comes up, outside of the office. So the narrative approach is the way to learn how to deal with issues, how to communicate, which of course, as I said, I believe that if their communication was worked on, their level of intimacy can definitely improve. And once you learn to communicate, the interpersonal part becomes better. And there can be high levels of interpersonal intimacy because you're able to give and receive. So, of course, with anything, there are limitations and ethical issues. As a therapist, dealing with the couple, I think one of the biggest things is not to take sides. Don't take sides. Never take sides. You're on each of their side. So it doesn't matter, who's right or who's wrong. The idea is to fix the issue because you're there together. You're there together, you're one. So you're both to blame for whatever is going on. So how do we fix it on both ends? Which definitely wouldn't place the blame. Just saying right here, they're both to blame. But in a session, no, we're not placing blame at all. Everyone has to be involved. Everyone has to be willing to participate. You definitely have those couples where one is threatening divorce or, I can't do this. The only way we're going to work this out is if we go to therapy, and the other is just like, okay, I'll go. But, they're not really interested. So you definitely want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Are we willing to work this out? Is this what we want? Are we willing to put in the work? Because you have to put in work. Are we willing to give what it takes to make things better? And of course, with the narrative therapy. So as I said, the couple holds the power, and sometimes they don't want to. Sometimes a lot of people come to a therapy session, waiting for direction, waiting, like, you tell me what to do. You ask me the questions. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. That's why I came to you. So just like kind of like giving them the power, putting everything in their hands, just the therapist being there as a mediator more so than, being the one directing it and, just being in control or being seen as in control. that can discourage couples. So the narrative approach is, um, it's one that you have to be careful with. Of course, after assessing your couple, you're able to, pick up on what therapy techniques would work, what approaches would best benefit the couple. So of course you go about it like that, but that definitely, I mean, let's just say you picked up on something wrong and you decided to do the narrative approach and it's just not working out. It's just best to kind of like see what the couple, I guess, would like at that point, or get a feel for it and just step in and I guess direct, and try a different approach. And that is all I have. 30 minutes on the dot. Thank you guys.